As Bitcoin is facing what is far worse than a death cross, as we covered yesterday in our YouTube video, new viewers, if you haven't seen that, I strongly suggest just give this link a try. It's yesterday's video, then pop back into this video. So as Bitcoin is facing that far worse than a death cross, CPI numbers came in, expectations 3.6 year over year, and it came in slightly more bearish. So a higher number is a bearish pressure for the market. And then the core CPI month over month, 0.2, it came in a little hotter at 0.3. So there's really not much more volatility going on in the charts yet. However, as I'm recording this, the markets have not opened, and they will open in 4 minutes. So as I'm recording this, if I start seeing a little bit more volatility, we'll start jumping into the micro timeframes. But as of now, what I want to accomplish in this video is this. A lot of crypto YouTube has gone over, oh, there's going to be spikes in volatility. We have big quarterly options expiring this month. We have CPI data, all that stuff, volatility is going to happen. Okay, well, there's no volatility yet. It could start in 4 minutes during my recording. However, what can you do with that information? I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to show you where you actually need to start paying attention to. This volatility is going to trigger either buyers taking over or sellers taking over to get us out of this sideways rut. I'm going to show you exactly what to look out for in the chart. So hold on to your panties. Let's go get some Bitcoin. I'm going to zoom in to this, what's worse than a death cross, and I want to show you that on a weekly closure basis. So these are the actual, what was the top line is now the bottom line, hence now it's red, is the weekly 10 EMA. What was the bottom and is now the top line is the weekly 21 EMA, when the smaller number is below the larger number, or the faster. So the smaller number 10 is the faster moving one. When the faster moving one goes below the smaller moving one, it turns red, therefore it's flipped bearishly. These are the actual EMAs on the weekly chart itself. These go by the closures of the week, and it has closed and locked in. It is officially crossed locked in, but on a rolling basis. So for example, if you multiplied the number of, actually I should know that off the top of my head. There we go. There are 168 hours in a week. All right. And so what I have done is I have taken from a 4-hour chart, so no weekly closures, only 4-hour closures, but I multiplied it out to be equivalent to a rolling weekly 10, as opposed to being solidified on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. New York time. That's when the weekly candle closes. Instead of those candle closures, this goes on a weekly, or on a rolling 4-hour basis, equivalent to the weekly 10 EMA. It has not, from a rolling basis, it has not technically crossed. I have a strong hunch that algorithms often go off the rolling weekly 10 and rolling weekly 21 cross in order for their algos to start triggering. Now, just realize that in light of all these potential fuels for volatility, okay, so let's go over those. Bitcoin's been going sideways for a long ass time, which is fuel in and of itself for price to start moving. Doesn't mean it has to go up or down. It could mean it goes both ways, right? But we'll cover that here in a second. We have CPI data and strong expectations of the traditional market, which influences Bitcoin. People trying to guess, is the Fed going to pause completely? Are they going to turn around? Are they going to keep raising rates? Which is just probably why Bitcoin's going sideways. There's a big question out there. And that the CPI numbers could relieve that, I guess, that pause in the market where they're trying to guess which one is more probable. Pause, increase, so on and so forth, or pivot. And now that those numbers come across, there will be more speculation on guessing one of those three options. Therefore, the markets should move. It starts in 1 minute. We're not seeing anything on Bitcoin, and we're not seeing anything on, I will go ahead and go to NQ1. I don't know why my log is off. Oh yeah, because I was looking at the 10-year bond yields. So we'll go ahead and go to in Q1, see if we see any volatility here in the next, actually in now. So I will go to the 5-minute chart and we will see if anything is happening per all these crypto YouTubers saying volatility is going to happen on Wednesday and this and that. So far, you only have one lightsaber 5-minute candle of volatility on traditional markets, which spanned a whopping 0.75%, and then it landed back almost exactly where it started. Or, yes, where it started. And nothing's happening on the opening bell. All right, so what is happening and when should I care about what's happening? Well, on a structural basis, all right, so without EMAs, even though this area that I'm showing you, this band, is definitely the weekly 10 and 21 on a rolling 4-hour basis, there's not a lot happening until Bitcoin goes back below 25,200. That is a beginning of a macro horizontal. Going back below there a second time would very, very, very likely over time create a move down at least to the top of the 2-year-long macro bear channel out of which Bitcoin broke from the BlackRock ETF news around June 20th and retested almost perfectly on Thursday, August 17th, as denoted right here. And this wick came down and hit that top of the bear channel, which is this, right? And that price, that's a descending line, if it took, if it moved on a regular slope basis, that would be about 23,700. So any price movement below 25.2 has a strong chance, okay, a very notable chance to take price down over time to 23,700 or lower, with my guess being 22,900, perhaps only on a wick, because that is the quarterly. That's the quarterly candle or the 3-month candle 21 EMA, which is real. I don't know if it's ever been touched in Bitcoin history. And so this would be among the most bearish things that's happened in any bear market for this to be touched. However, it is within grasp. So if price goes below 25.2, that could stimulate a move down for price to want to touch this. But because the top of the 2-year-long bear channel is in such proximity to this quarterly 21, within, I don't know, a couple percent, 3.5%, Bitcoin likely during this move would fall down and wick to here and then get back up on this channel. Whether or not it would stay up there, for example, so it gets stuck under there and then comes down and then bounces on. Now, whether it marches on and forward after that, I don't know. But I would fully expect a pattern like this only if 25.2 is violated to the downside. So I would not look for that until 20. So right now, since price is above that, I wouldn't be thinking that. But I know what to think if 25,200 is violated. Does that make sense? So I start caring about price, downside movements, downside targets, only when price is below 25.2. If I get a bearish engulfing 4-hour candle, and that 4-hour candle, doesn't go below 25.2, I don't care. Like, am I maybe more interested in looking at price? Not really. I need this to be violated. I don't care about downside price right now on the micro time frames. Now on the weekly time frame, looking at this looks pretty ominous right here. And we're going to talk about that very shortly. How to grasp this. But this is the midterm time frames 4-hour chart, which has essentially a weekly or bi-weekly mentality. So if you're looking at the 4-week chart, I mean, just in the middle here, that's 27 days we're staring at. So maybe even a monthly mentality when you're looking at the 4-hour chart. We're looking at finer details, but with a 1 to 2 month mentality. Is that making sense? All right. To the upside, I'm going to go to a different micro chart. This is on the 15-minute. I can see very easily 28.2 being a double tap or a double top on the micro time frames, because the last spike up, the most recent spike up in Tuesday, August 29th, hit 28.2 exactly. And if you go to my YouTube video from Monday, August 23rd, my guess was it's going to hit 28.2. And I posted a video on that as well. And I think that it has a strong chance of being hit again, because even if this what's worse than a death cross plays out, price would like to go touch that. And that takes it at least to 27,200 or so to at least touch it. And you can see the same cross on the micro time frames which these are the actual weekly 10 and 21 cross, and that's 27,350 where they're crossing, or just recently crossed. And on the rolling basis, if that's what the algos are looking at, that's about 27.4, 27.5. So a lot of times when so remember what I said, if it's going to touch this anyway, it might as well touch what's just below it. Same concept. If price truly is wanting to go this way because of that momentum, it's the key for new viewers. I have essentially a way price, a theory on one among many theories on the way price moves, or how to describe it, is a small child in an elevator. If they're in the elevator or price is already here, so kid's already in the elevator, they might as well touch that button. Does that make sense? Because the momentum's already there. They're already got permission to touch one. Well, why don't we touch, the parent said, okay, touch number one, and then they want to touch all the other ones as well. Does that make sense? And if you've never had a kid in an elevator, I don't know. It's very difficult not to get them to touch. So Bitcoin might just go up there and touch that, and that would end up being essentially the most common way to get rejected by an EMA band or by resistance in general, whether it's a horizontal, an ascending origin line, a descending channel line if price were below it. Among the most common ways to get rejected is to slightly go over it. So this is this band, or the weekly 10 and 21 on a rolling basis is the resistance. Price goes above it, and when it comes back to touch it, it falls back through, does a lower high, and comes down. Or reverse, you come up to it, get rejected, put in a higher low, go above it, and then fail. So either a rejection failure pattern or a failure rejection pattern. And either way, whether it's so, those are the two most common ways. Those ways together, if you add up the chances of that happening, is more likely than just a straight up rejection. So both of those ways, they go up to touch 28.2 because they both include a failure pattern. And so what that would mean on the weekly time frame is that no, is that the monthly time? No, that's the weekly time frame. It would simply come up and touch on a weekly scale where you have a prominent wick. Here, you have a lot of stuff happening here, watch. And it makes perfect sense on the weekly. Watch, from that wick, on that weekly, when it bounced up to hit 28.2 perfectly, there you go. So it is a weekly area of interest. You have some local highs here, or some, you have clear resistance that has already been tested. And on a weekly basis, I could see price popping up to there. Now, if price does pop all the way up to 28.2 or slightly above, and then starts coming back down, I would then reverse. I would then change my conditions on when I'm interested in the charts for downside movement. I would then begin being interested when price, if and when price goes back below. Actually, it'd be easier on this chart. Back below the weekly 10 EMA, the real one. Even though I'm on the 15-minute chart, that is the multi-time frame weekly 10 EMA. When it goes below there, and the monthly 10, because they're so close, and then I would be looking for those downside movements. I think those would then cause that, cause a potential downside movement all the way down to the other chart, which has the structural down to 23,000 or 23,700, which is the top of the 2-year long bear channel, which has already been retested once, or lower. Does that make sense? So if it goes up first, then my conditions for being interested in downside targets would be risen slightly to the weekly 10 and monthly 10, where those are essentially about ready to bearishly cross. But for now, because price has not gone up that high, I'm not interested in price going down until it's below 25.4. I'm not really interested in price going up for long side targets, all right, being long for more than 2 or 3 days at a time, until Bitcoin is above what I'm calling the midterm time frame lower high zone, or the slope line. And I'm going to have to zoom out slightly to show you that. I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart, zoom out just a little bit. The ultimate yearly high of 31,800, that wick from July 13th or so, mixed with the wick up on August 8th, both of this year. So August 8th and July 13th, those two wicks up create essentially the top of what could be a descending triangle, but I call that a slope line. And I do not see price going up until it's above this. And so going to this chart, that's what this line right here is. And what does it magically align with is about 28.2. So I could see price poking its head above there and then going right below and then failing. But if price hits 28.2 and sticks its freaking landing, even with slightly lower lows, now watch. This is where price behavior can get interesting, because you could put in some lower lows and lower highs on this descending line. But because that is like your threshold for we're going to make a midterm time frame move or not, that lower lows and lower highs on top of that descending line is bullish. It's about the only case where lower lows and lower highs are fairly bullish is if you get over clear resistance for that moderate time frame and you're bouncing on it perfectly. If I see that happen after 28.2 is tagged, even with lower highs and lower lows on top of that slope line connected by those 2 points, I'm going to be looking for upside movement. And that is so getting above this and using it as support in some way. It doesn't have to be perfectly, like it doesn't have to hit 28.2 and come perfectly bounce on like this. Hell, it can go up to 28.5 or 29 and come down and tag it, right? But even if price goes all the way to 29, I'm not chasing that. I need to wait for this to be tested, because the chances of it being tested, if price goes above it in any way, is exceptionally high, just like what you're about to see. And so what you're about to see is mostly for new viewers, and I need you to realize the probabilities that if price goes above this slope line, the probabilities of it being tested are nearly the same as the probabilities of what I was saying when price was up at 31K, that down here it needs to be touched around 26,000, 25,000. And it was hard to believe because price was so bullish at that time after the XRP news, and I kept saying, and I'm getting ready to show you all the history of that. So for new viewers, check that out. But the same thing is about ready to happen. If there's upside movement, the same probabilities and principles apply. That if you go above a slope line, above on BlackRock News, and back down and touch it perfectly, right, for what I'm about to show you, and I predicted that. That was my main #1 guess. The same idea will apply, but on the micro time frames, and these are all the conditions that I would look for when I start becoming interested in price. So therefore, we have how big of a range? From 25.4 up to that slope line is 9%. So I really don't think anything's changing on Bitcoin price within a 10% range. I think even though you can trade these lines, there are so many obstacles in the way that this might not be an easy 10% range to trade, is what I'm saying. I'd hate to give you a 10% range where there's not a lot to do because there's so many obstacles and pit stops, but that's what I'm looking for. So I personally am not interested in trading crypto or looking for spurts of volatility until top side, that slope line, bottom side, 25,400 are violated. And then new viewers or returning viewers, you can go ahead and check out. You just got Timified Worldwide. New viewers, stay tuned. You're about ready to see the concept of why this slope line would need to be retested, but on a much greater scale. Again, you all got Timified Worldwide. New viewers, I want to make you a bet about this area right here. I bet you that I prepared my community for this recent drop in price in August from the 30Ks down to 25Ks better than any YouTube channel that you watch or follow specific to crypto price and or any community that you're a part of. Watch this video. If you agree with me, and I win the bet, then you have to subscribe and hit that bell, and then check out the Discord community as a free member, because I'm going to post the daily update that's for the private community in the free member section as well, so you can get a taste of what I do in the community. So go ahead and check out the rest of the video and let me know if I won the bet. Leave a comment below. We'll see you on the flip side.
July 17th, 2023.
Yeah, Bitcoin broke out of a 2-year-long channel, and it hasn't retested it as support. Look. And all of that could be stimulated. Look, that's 25, 26K. High 25s, 26. And that's a macro bullish pullback that could all be stimulated because the US 500 doesn't put in a higher high. Bitcoin keeps dropping versus that chart, and then Bitcoin falls out of the 8-month-long channel and then has to come all the way down to finally use as support something it hasn't used as support, but only resistance for a 2-year period.
Also July 17th, but during a VIP call.
There is one thing to keep in mind. This 2-year-long resistance has not been used as support one time. Over 2 years, it's only been resistance. Ever. Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be retested. So keep that in mind as well. That would be my, I don't know, I think that's my second most likely. Maybe even my first most likely that it finds its way down there, even if it means, lower lows, lower highs in the range, try all this again, and then, hits this area, maybe closer to 25 and change. But this line, I think there's an exceptionally high probability that it's going to be retested. And then if all that happens, then we are
July 20th VIP call.
Comes all the way down to so this is a 2-year channel. Bitcoin did not get above here for 2 years. Didn't even do a really fake out above it. It got pure rejections for 2 whole years on this line. This moment right here was the only moment in 2 years it got above. And look, there's no retest. So if Bitcoin, assumingly, and very safely assumingly, at some point comes to retest this, it's not a guarantee, but it's very, very, very likely. The whole question is, you have 2 questions. Will the weekly 10 and the weekly 21 uncross? So will they cross back down bearish? And will Bitcoin price then get stuck under the weekly 10, and therefore that bearish cross really, drives it down? Or when this happens, will it be more on a wick and you have a V shape and it gets right back on top of all this and they stay good as is?
July 31st, a daily update for the whole community, including the YouTube tiers.
To the downside, as low as I can see things going, is this is a 2-year-long channel that the 69K top also hit, and it was hit multiple times just in May, multiple times in May, also in April, and it's never been above. Bitcoin recently exploded above it off of the event or the news-driven price action from BlackRock applying for a spot ETF, and it has not been retested. It's an exceptionally high likelihood that it will be retested at some point in the not too far future.
August 2nd, during another daily update video.
I do fully expect a very large bounce if Bitcoin goes anywhere between 24,500 and 25,500. 24,500 and 25,500. I expect a large bounce. It could be into a lower high as opposed to continuation upward. I don't know which one, but I think it should get a good reaction from that $1,000 range.
August 4th, during another daily update video.
To the downside, I still think it's more probable that all this area, so clearly labeled here, and this try area of interest. So the descending 2-year-long bear channel as 1, and then the top of the horizontal, bottom of the horizontal for 3. So descending line, top and bottom of the horizontal. This try area here, it might all hit at the same time when they're crossing. So you see how this line is in between here, or it could happen just a little after. But if it happens after, then you're looking at, you actually would have a green triangle of a bounce area here. Most likely that would be a green. I would not call it a yellow triangle. I'd put that as a green triangle there, and you probably get some bounces there. However, if it does, if price comes down into this, 25 and change area, you're going to have extreme support here, and you're at least, it's exceptionally probable that you'll at least bounce into a lower high, or more, or new highs, but you'll get a bounce here. And
later on in the same video on August 4th.
A lot of times what price does is, so the second way this could go is, it just goes like this, and you don't really have much opportunity because it goes down, and most of the move happens in 2 or 3 hours when we're all sleeping. Which is exactly what happened. So then your next area to get in is a bounce from here. So it is possible that there's no way to get the trade, right, short, because it just rolls, and it rolls when you're not at your desk, and it only takes 2 to 3 hours to get down there, and it's over. And then your next trade setup is a long. There are 2 ways to join the community to get more exclusive content. There are 2 YouTube tiers, which involve access to private live shows, typically at 12 p.m. noon New York time, Tuesdays and Thursdays, in which the higher YouTube tier also gets daily price updates on Bitcoin and other cryptos. And the Discord community offers multiple events each week, as you can see on this real example of a previous community calendar, which would enable you to jump on the live events, turn on your microphone, share screens with me, share your ideas, so we can knock out any questions that you have. In addition to offering tutorial series and other exclusive content to help you in your crypto journey. And what you can do for free, which is amazingly valuable, is to look at the 12 links from 2021 and 2022, which are both in the pinned comment and near the top of the description section of this video. Those are links to videos in which I made technical analyses that now played out. Go back to those videos to see how I was able to use the charts to predict it. It's all for free. I promise I'm here to help you as much as I can in your crypto journey.